What's up, guys? Doug here, Gen X Vintage, and today I would like to talk about a movie I saw, a made-for-TV movie I saw when I was a kid back in the 80s. I got a little bit of information here pulled up. The movie came out in 1983, and it was called Adam. And for those of you who've never seen it, man, it was life-changing to me. Let's see, I was 8 years old. Yeah, I was 8 years old in 1983. It's basically about a little boy. It's a true story. It's about a little boy that was abducted from a mall. Before I get into my feelings, I want to tell anybody who hasn't seen it, they should watch it. I think most people probably knows this story. So if you haven't seen Adam, you don't know Adam Walsh's story, pause this video, find the movie and watch it, then come back. So, spoiler. Adam and his mother went to a shopping center. They lived in Florida. And she left him, I think it was a Sears. She left him with some boys that was playing a video game. Back then they had Atari set up and you could stop and play, kind of like what they do with PS3, 4s, or whatever they are nowadays. She leaves him. She's just going to be gone for a second. She's shopping for a lamp. And when she comes back, he's gone. All the boys are gone. So she asked a security guard, and apparently the boys had become unruly, and the security guard kicked them all out, made them leave the store, including Adam, who wasn't with them, but the security guard thought that Adam was with them. And Adam, I guess, was his parents said that he just wouldn't have spoke up and said anything because he would have been too shy. So the security guard kicks all of them outside the store, and ultimately Adam is abducted. At the end of the original movie, or at the end of the original airing of the movie in 1983, they ran some kids' pictures who were missing, that one of them was actually found. Maybe more than that, but I do know this one was found. There was a young man who was at age 4 whenever he was kidnapped. His name was Byron Anthony McCain. And I don't know when he was found, but he was found. He'd been kidnapped by his father, and he later became a rapper known as Busy Bone of Bones, Thugs, and Harmony. So I thought that was pretty wild. So thank God that they was able to get him back. The movie was aired on October 10th, 1983, and it had an audience of 38 million people. Adam's father, John Walsh, went on to become a huge advocate for missing children, and he had his own show in the 80s, and I'm pretty sure it ran through the 90s, or part of the 90s. It might have even ran to the 2000s. America's Most Wanted. And to my understanding, that caught a lot of criminals out there. So it's a horrible thing what happened to Adam, but at least some good did come of it. In stores, if you ever hear Code Adam, that means there's a child missing, and they'll usually not let anybody leave the stores. I haven't heard that in years. I remember hearing it one time as a kid, and man, I was terrified. Even though I was with my mother standing right there, I thought, oh God, there's a kidnapper in here. Adam was born November 14th, 1974 in Hollywood, Florida. He died July 27th, 1981. He was 6 years old. His severed head was found 2 weeks later in a drainage canal alongside Highway 60. His death garnered national interest and was made into the 1983 movie. Think about that. Whoever done it, and they think they know, cut his head off. And I'm pretty sure they never found the body, just the head. Imagine that. Imagine that for a parent. Me, myself, I've lost a child, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing, I mean, unless it's happened to you, you don't know. It wasn't by kidnapping. He lost his battle with depression. He was 22 years old. And he just, anyway, let's get back to Adam. Maybe I'll share more of that later on or something. It's just hard to talk about. August 10th, the head was found, and apparently the parents, they didn't notify the parents. I guess they couldn't identify it at the time, because on the morning of August 11th, they offered a reward of $100,000 for Adam's safe return. And soon after that, it was discovered that it was identified, Adam's head was identified as his head. The coroner ruled that the death was asphyxiation. The state of the remains suggested that Adam had died several days before the discovery of his head. The rest of the body was never recovered. The head would be kept in the morgue until the case's closure in 2008. I never knew that fact. Wow. After some investigation, police eventually concluded that Adam was abducted by a drifter named Otis Toole near the front exterior of Sears. After being instructed to leave by the security guards, Toole said that he had lured Adam into his white 1971 Cadillac sedan DeVille, which had a damaged right bumper, with promises of toys and candy, then proceeded to drive north on Interstate 95 towards his home in Jacksonville. According to Toole, Adam, at first docile and compliant, began to panic as they drove on. Toole punched him in his face, but as this just made the situation worse, he then walloped him unconscious, in Toole's words. While Adam was unconscious, Toole drove north on the Florida Turnpike to a deserted service road. When Toole realized that Adam was still breathing, he strangled him to death with a seatbelt, dragged him out of the car, and decapitated him with a machete. Toole claimed to have incinerated the body in an old refrigerator when he returned to Jacksonville. He claimed that he wanted to make Adam his adopted son, but that was not deemed feasible. The source of the blood found in Toole's car could not be identified. The police ultimately lost the blood-stained carpet from the car, the machete said to have been used to decapitate Adam, and eventually the car itself. Wow. Toole, a confidant of convicted serial killer Henry Lee Lucas. If you've never heard of Henry Lee Lucas, there's a movie about him called Henry. I think there's 2 parts. Maybe 3. But anyway, this guy, both of these guys was nuts. Otis Toole, Henry Lee Lucas's lover and partner in crime. Toole was never charged in Adam's case, although he provided seemingly accurate description as to how he committed the crime. The 2019 Netflix miniseries, The Confession Killer, shows footage of him apparently being fed information from interrogators, and he later confessed to several cases he had no involvement in. Several witnesses also placed him in Hollywood area in the days leading up to Adam's disappearance. In September 1996, he died in prison of cirrhosis at the age of 49 while serving a life sentence for other crimes. Later, his niece told John Walsh that he made a deathbed confession to Adam's murder. His confession was viewed as unreliable, as he and Lucas confessed to or implicated themselves in more than 200 homicides. Most of Lucas's confessions were later revealed to have been false, having been coerced by the Texas Rangers. So here these guys are confessing to crimes that they did commit, that they didn't commit, crimes that they committed, they're recanting. They confessed to 200 murders. Think about that. On December 16, 2008, Hollywood Police Chief Chad Wagner, with his friend John present, made the announcement that the case was now closed. An external review of the case had been conducted, and police announced that they were satisfied that Toole was the murderer. John Walsh, to my understanding, accepted the confession of Otis Toole, but how can you be certain? This guy recanted. They lost his car, the carpet, the machete. I mean, how can you be certain? The reason for this video, and I don't want to make a gloomy video, but this is an 80 experience that I had that changed my life. Before that movie, I knew about kidnappings, but I never had that fear like I did until after Adam, the movie. And anytime I would go out and play, I was terrified. I think that it had lasting effects on myself because I was so afraid. And I hardly, whenever we went to stores when I was a kid, I never left my mom's side. That movie changed my life. It was terrifying to think what that little feller went through. 6 years old. And like I say, I was just 8, so I was 2 years older than him. No. I was that old when the movie come out. So I was in 81. I was 6 years old. I was the same age as Adam Walsh. Was I the only one that was affected like that? Did any of you all, were you affected by that? I don't know. I'm sitting here. I wanted to make this video, and now I'm sitting here thinking it's so hard to explain the fear that instilled in me. And now as a parent and a grandparent, I didn't let my kids leave my side. I didn't let them go looking at toys while I looked at something else. The grandkids the same way. They had to be right with me. I didn't let my kids go out and play like I did as a child. If they went out, I was out there watching them. Like I say, if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. That's going to be dated, of course, but if you're here watching this video, you like 80s stuff, so more than likely you're going to like an 80s movie. If you're familiar with the case, do you believe that Otis Toole did commit that crime? What gets me is where they confessed, recanted, but then they lied about so many murders because the police were, I saw, you can watch interviews of Henry Lee Lucas. I'm sure on YouTube. And it's obvious that these cops are feeding this guy information, and then he circles around and comes back and tells them what they've already told him. He would take this information and figure out to give them this information. Just if you haven't seen any interviews with Henry Lee Lucas, watch them. Always take care of your kids, grandkids, whatever. Be mindful. Watch out for weirdos. Appreciate you guys watching.